Hi, I'm Yehuda from Checkmarx, and I'm here to reveal a newly discovered attack technique of a supply chain attack called repojacking that bypasses protective measures that have been put in place to protect against repojacking, what you should know about it, and how we can help you avoid these kinds of attacks. First of all, what is repojacking? In GitHub, users maintain projects within repositories. The URL to a specific project consists of the username and the repository name. These two together are called a namespace. One of the many features GitHub provides is the ability to rename your user account. For example, a user called John Doe creates an account on GitHub, which becomes part of his domain URL. He creates a new package called pizzalib, which is becoming quite popular, and many users and other projects are downloading it. After a while, John Doe decides to change his username to Alfredo. As soon as he does so, his old username becomes available to be registered by others. As long as his old username remains unregistered, GitHub will automatically set up a redirect between the old and new URL of his package to prevent any existing references from breaking. However, once someone else registers the old username, the redirect ends. Attackers can now take advantage of this by registering as Alfredo's old username and creating a new package, also named pizzalib, containing whatever malicious code they want. Now, anyone still looking up Alfredo's old username will receive the attacker's malicious package rather than being redirected to the new username. GitHub has been taking measures to try and avoid this potentially harmful behavior. Any repository that has been cloned over 100 times at the time its user account is renamed is considered retired and cannot be used by others. To clarify, what is considered retired is a namespace, meaning the combination of the username and the repository name. In this example, if John Doe's repository has been cloned more than 100 times, it would be qualified as a popular namespace, and GitHub will not allow other users to reclaim the old namespace. It is important to note that this is a built-in mechanism of GitHub based on their internal metrics, and gives users no indication if a particular namespace is protected or not. This leaves repositories and packages unknowingly at risk. In May of this year, a story broke out about an attacker who found a creative way to bypass this protective measure. However, shortly after that incident and the publicity it gained, GitHub patched this creative bypass. Since then, our group's chief architect Elad Rappaport felt that there was more to the story and attempted to bypass the popular namespace retirement using a slightly different approach, which led him to discover yet another vulnerability, and he quickly reported it to GitHub. This current bypass abuses the repository transfer feature to achieve its goal. Taking this new attack technique to our John Doe's example, Elad found that instead of an attacker first claiming the targeted username John Doe and then trying to create a repository with the targeted repository name, the attacker would first need to open a random helper GitHub account, then create a repository with the targeted repository name. The attacker would then need to transfer the ownership of the repository to a different random GitHub account. For the sake of example, let's call it attacker account. The attacker would then rename the attacker account username to the targeted username John Doe before accepting the ownership transfer. The new John Doe account, which was previously attacker account, then accepts the ownership transfer of the repository. Once all these steps are completed, the attacker will now have control over the namespace John Doe/pizzalib. Although this bypass is now blocked, after Checkmarx's responsible disclosure to GitHub back in June of this year, there is still the probability that someone will find additional methods of bypassing this protection, since repojacking has remained an attractive entry point for attackers, primarily due to numerous languages such as Go, Swift, and PHP, which pull packages code directly from GitHub and use GitHub URLs as pointers for packages. So what can you do about this? We recommend that customers avoid using retired namespaces to minimize the attack surface, as other vulnerabilities in this mechanism may still exist. Additionally, we have released an open source tool to identify packages at risk of repojacking and recommends a safer way to consume them. We want to thank GitHub for working with us and swiftly applying a fix to this vulnerability.